So here's the Epiphan Webcaster X2. We're going to connect it with an Ethernet cord to the LAN port. And this is the LAN port right here. So now that we have the LAN connected, we're going to go ahead and plug in the mouse, USB mouse. Adjacent to this is another USB port that you could use for a keyboard, but we are not going to do that today. Next, we're going to plug in the power. And then the power into the wall. When you plug in the power, this is what the display shows. First it says booting. And then it shows that it is connecting or trying to connect. It's offline. It takes a few minutes to connect to the internet. It takes a second for it to connect. There are two HDMI ports. One is an HDMI out, and then the other is an HDMI in. The HDMI in is for the camera. The out HDMI goes into a monitor, like one of these. So here's the HDMI cord that we're going to use. We plug it into the back of the Epiphan. Once everything is hooked up, HDMI, power, USB mouse, Ethernet. You could use Wi-Fi instead of Ethernet cord. Once that's all set up, you can power on the device, although plugging in the device automatically powers it on. Here the device is now turned off, and I'm unplugging it. I'm going to plug it back in. Here's what the display looks like when it's first coming on. This is a code for Facebook to pair to a Facebook account. So you would log into facebook.com/device, and that page will ask you for a code, and this is the code that you would enter. Once the code is entered, the device is then connected to your Facebook account. Double-clicking on the power button on the side over here toggles between the various social media sites that you can broadcast to. YouTube, Twitch. Epiphan has their own service. I think it may have a monthly cost, but I'm not sure. Switchboard, Church TV, Blue Frame, AV Studio, or Baby Cloud. And those are all the sites that it's able to broadcast to. So on your phone or on your tablet or some other device, you'd log into the social media site /device. So for instance, facebook.com/device. And then you would type in the code on that page, and then the message will change on the display of the Epiphan when it gets paired. And then clicking once will start the recording. And then the green light will start flashing. And then a timer shows up in the front of the display to tell you how long it's been streaming. It's not flashing now because it's not paired. Then you turn it off the stream. You click it once more, and it stops, and the timer stops displaying on the front. To turn the power off, you just hold the button down. Unplugging the Epiphan while it's still running is not advisable. It's better to power it off with the power button. So now it's paired. Clicking it once and the light starts flashing to show that it's streaming. The timer isn't showing here because there. So here we're going to show what happens on the monitor when you turn on the Epiphan Webcaster. So my monitor is an ultra long monitor. It has a picture-in-picture display option where you can have two video sources. And here I'm splitting the screen, so one side of it is my desktop, and the other side right there is going to be where the Epiphan source is going to display. So when we turn on the Epiphan, we'll see it, the opening screen appear. There's the opening screen. So this is where we would initially pair. So there's the code that also displays on the front of the Epiphan. So if we go on my desktop and we go to facebook.com/device for my Facebook account, we get this page where it asks you to enter the code. So we type in the code that the Epiphan is giving us, and it will connect the Epiphan to my Facebook account once I click OK. Now this little pop-up screen indicates that that it's going to pair that device with my account. All I have to do is hit the OK button. And on the Epiphan, it displays that it is connected to a Facebook account. Now that it's paired, everything that's streamed through that device will show up on the account that it's paired with. It works identically the same way for the other services, except the pairing screen is obviously a little bit different for Facebook and Twitch and the other options, but the steps are pretty much identical. I haven't used all of them, but definitely YouTube one is exactly the same because I've used that one. Today we're just going to do the Facebook account for our demonstrations. The first thing we do is go to Preferences, and the first setting is to tell it where you want to publish the stream when it is streaming. So it shows my timeline, and it shows all the groups I'm an admin of. Sorry, all the groups I'm a member of and all the pages I'm an admin of. So I can choose to send it to my timeline, or I can choose to send it to a group that I'm a member of or a page that I'm an admin of. So here I'm choosing a page that I'm an admin of, but normally you'd want to send it to your personal timeline. So on the video title, when you select the title or the description, a little keyboard shows up on the bottom, and you can use your mouse to, quote unquote type by clicking on the letters one at a time. The keyboard connected to the Epiphan obviously makes this process a little bit easier. So you just type the title and the description. The description starts off as the same, defaulted as the same as the title. So when you're going to your timeline, you can send it to yourself or your friends of friends or public. Normally, if you're streaming, you probably want to go to public. That's the last option. And so this next is a checkbox for showing comments, and I usually leave it to show comments. So the next two options are for continuous stream, for turning on continuous stream and deleting after continuous stream is over or something like that. But continuous stream definition is a little strange. It doesn't mean what you would normally think continuous stream means. So I advise just to leave these two settings unchecked. The next setting is for pair automatically on power up. And the next setting after that is to start the stream once it is paired. I always want to have it pair automatically when I power it up, but I don't want it to start the stream immediately. I want to be able to choose when I start the stream by pushing the button. Resolution, I usually do 720 because it's a Facebook and it's usually going to go to a mobile device or a tablet. So the 720 resolution is less data sent across the Wi-Fi network or my phone network. So it works much better and there's no need to have the extra data of a 1080p connection. But if you had a LAN connection with a cable, Cat5 cable, then you might want to do 1080. It doesn't really matter that much for streaming to Facebook or YouTube. And then you have the choice of bitrate, 8 and 10 bitrate, megabits per second bitrate. That's for mostly independent films. And with streaming, you really don't need to have that level. You're not going to do any post-production on the video, so 2 megabits per second is just fine for streaming. Webcaster has a bunch of extra features and settings that are not really required for our demonstration, but if you buy a Webcaster, then you can look into all these more advanced settings. For instance, that has a webcam, USB webcam, and a USB microphone setting. So you could plug in a USB microphone and webcam and use that to stream with instead of an actual full-fledged camera and professional microphone. So that might be really useful for desktop podcasting and that kind of thing. The only other thing is the settings for Wi-Fi. If you're going to use a Wi-Fi hotspot, then you probably should make sure that the Webcaster will connect to it automatically. So set it up and type in the password and all that, make sure that it connects to it, and turn off the Epiphan, turn it on, make sure it reconnects to it. All right, so this is the Magnus VT4000 tripod that I use. So I just thought I'd go through all of the equipment one at a time. So here, this, so the first thing to do to unfold this is got a little clip here, and you just pop this out, and then it lets the legs unfold. Also, another nice feature is these feet. If you unscrew, loosen these, there's a little pointed foot that is recessed. So on normal indoor flooring, you can recess the little point, and my dog's getting in the shot. But anyway, so that it will rest on this rubber foot. But when you're outside, you can pull the rubber foot up and use these metal points to dig into the ground to make sure it has nice solid footing. So there's that. That's a nice little feature. But what I did to modify this guy is right up here. I actually took a big piece of Velcro tape and taped it around the head right here where this joint is. And then inside of this, I slit the tape right about where this is, right here. And then I ran this thin tape through that hole. So now I've got, not only do I have a, the top of it is actually Velcroed, but also I have this long tape that I can wrap around things that can stay, that I can keep on the tripod. So it doesn't fall, obviously. You don't want electronics to fall. Now, other methods, maybe better method would be to use a clamp right on the leg. But these legs, they're sturdy, but they're not really good for clamping things to. And the reason would be the method that they get their sturdiness is that they have a three-leg system here that adds to the strength. So the bottom legs just this unlocks them, and they're nice solid aluminum, the bottom part, and then the top part you have to unclamp here, and this whole section slides down. So you have this nice thick 2 aluminum pole system, but this is kind of small here for clamping things. I guess I mean, you could still clamp things to it, but I just like my Velcro works really well. So once all of it is down, the ball head, I have to put it farther away. The ball head, or move the camera, is really nice. It has a adjustment handle here, and if you loosen this, the entire apparatus can move around, so you can balance it so that it's level, and then tighten it down once you have it level, and then then you can pan left and right and up and down, and it has locks for the panning. I love using this lock for the up and down so that I have a nice horizontal pan now, and it's not going to jump up and down. It's just going to move this way. The only disadvantage to this whole tripod I've found is the lock for the horizontal pan. These leg joints get in the way of the lock handle, and so that makes it difficult to lock it down. Although I don't tend to lock this down anyway, it would be nice to be able to use that feature, but you really can't because the plastic hits up against this joint. So that's the tripod. Okay, so after the tripod, I want to talk about the battery pack. So this is the battery pack. It comes in this nice little case, and I've unzipped it. But so inside the case, you have the battery itself, and then you've got a bunch of wires. Not all the wires are here because I've got them actually plugged into the wall and stuff. But I've also added some additional wires and this little doohickey, which you buy at Home Depot or Walmart or anywhere. So basically this gives me 3 plugs instead of just 1, which comes on the battery, which I'm going to show you in a minute here. So here is the battery itself, and I've modified it slightly. I've put the Velcro on the battery, and I'll show you why I'm going to mount it to the tripod. But this is it. So on the side, it's got 3 USBs, ports, and then a power button, and then under this flap it's got the AC adapter. So this is what I plug that little orange thingy into. And on this side it just has just this power plug to charge it. This is what charges this port that it charges it from. So inside the case, it came with, here I gotta unplug it, sorry. It came with this plug that runs into this brick, and then at the other end of the brick, of course, is the little power cord that plugs into the battery for charging. One of the things I tested was being able to have it plugged in as if it's charging and have it running at the same time. It won't let you do that. You can either charge the battery, or you can run off the battery, one or the other, one activity or the other, but not both at the same time. So you can't charge it and run stuff off it at the same time. So the little power indicator, if you hit it once, it gives you the LEDs here, 7. While it's charging, they flash, like the light. The indicator will be like, let's say at 4, and the 5th one will be flashing, 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 saying it's charging. When you plug in something into the USB ports, so there are 2 USB Bs or As or whatever you want to call these, and then one of the new C type that most of the phones use nowadays, and some laptops and stuff. So when you plug it into the USBs, they immediately start working. You don't have to do anything. But this guy has a little light indicator right I don't know if you can see, it's a little dark, but there's a light indicator right there. And you have to hold this down for the AC adapter to start running. See, then the green light comes on. That means now the AC adapter is working. So you can plug everything into it and not have it powered, and then when you're ready to go, you can just turn it on, and then everything should power up. So that's that. So this is how I mount it. About to demonstrate that. So in another video I previously shot, I showed the Velcro on my tripod. So with the Velcro modification I've made to the battery, I take the battery and I stick it right on the head where I've put that Velcro. So right here, for instance. I try not to move it up too far because that'll interfere with the panning. But I stick it this way, and then I use this Velcro tape to wrap around it and just to secure it some more. But I don't really do very much. One of the things I look out for when I'm wrapping it with the tape is that it's interfering with any of these USB ports or the AC port, and also and there's a button here, so there's a lot of stuff to try to avoid. So, and I also try to wrap it so that I can still see the indicators, but that's not as big a deal. So anyway, so there's that, and then I might go up over here and down so that it's supported, its weight is supported. And then that's it. That's all I'll do just for the battery side of things. And now I'll move on to the next item. So for this segment, the next piece of equipment we want to attach is the Epiphan Webcaster. This guy is a nice little piece of device. Its purpose is to take video from a camera and transmit it on the internet to some social media site. So the one that I obviously use is Facebook. I have done YouTube. So here on the front is like a screen, like an LED, if you will, screen, and we'll show you that in a minute. On this side is the Wi-Fi antenna and a power button, and on this side is AV, I'm not sure what that's for. I guess there you can hook up audio video on that port. Then you have a recovery button, which is a factory reset micro SD card where you can record stuff that's going through the Epiphan if you want, and then edit it later. There's a USB port for some kind of USB device. It could be anything. I suggest a mouse or keyboard. You can also use this thing with a USB powered webcam. So I've read recently, but I've not tried it. But according to the documentation, you can. So then there's the HDMI in. This is where the camera gets plugged into. And then on this side, you have Ethernet LAN port. You have 2 more USBs for other devices. You have an HDMI out, which is where you would plug a monitor into this so you can see the preferences and set up the settings and stuff like that. Then you have an optical plug for, I think the optical is for audio. I've never used it before. And then you have the AC adapter, or DC adapter, sorry, plug. Now, I've read just yesterday that you can get a DC adapter that is not AC, that is USB. So it plugs into this hole, and then on the other end of the wire it has a USB plug that you could plug into a USB power source. So I've ordered that, and I'm going to try it, but at the moment don't have that. And so that's the whole thing. So that, well, actually, before I show you that, you're going to need, when you buy this, I think it only comes with the power cord, which is this little guy here. So it has that on that side and this on the other side. That is how it's, this is what it comes with, just the power cord, I believe, and just this device. You're going to want to also purchase a USB mouse. You're also going to want 2 USB cords, or sorry, HDMI cords. So one of the cords you're going to use for your camera, and so it'll vary. So one side of it will be the full HDMI like this guy, and then the other side will be whatever's compatible with your camera. This happens to be the format that my camera works with, but you'll have to buy the cord that's appropriate with for the camera that you're using. And then the other is just the straight HDMI to HDMI. Where's the other end? There it is, right there. So just the straight HDMI to HDMI. This is for your monitor. So this is going to plug in the Epiphan, and then the other side of the cord is going to plug into a monitor. So here's how I mount it. I just take it, I put the display upwards, and then I just wrap this tape around it, and I try not to cover up the display of the display of the Epiphan when I do this. And I've got this other side of the tape from the other end, and I'm going to wrap it around this way. And so now I can still see the indicator for the battery, and I still got some more tape here. Sometimes I'll also wrap a USB battery charger like that you would charge your phone, so I have additional charging because this only has 3 USB ports. I could use a USB extender or hub or whatever, but I don't tend to like using those things. But this is the essential part of it. Power cord plugged in there, and then powered there. And then usually I'll move the tape out of the way, and then I'll try and clean up the wires a bit. And this is why I do the wiring separately, because I'd like to, then I will wrap the wire to the tripod right here so that it's not hanging in the way. But you can see it's powered, plugged in at least. And so now holding this down to start the AC adapter on the battery. And now the light just came on. And so now there's power flowing through it. So if I turn on the Epiphan, the green light comes on. And there's the display saying that it's booting. And it says that it's connecting. Device is offline. So it takes it a few minutes for it to connect. So I have it configured to immediately connect to my hotspot on my phone. But since I'm filming with my phone, I can't have it connect at the same time. And it says paired usually when it's connected, and it tells you what Facebook account it's paired with. So you have to hold the button down to power it off. It takes it a few minutes while you're holding it down. It's a long hold. And there it is. Now I'm shutting off the battery. And the light's out. It is out and it's turned off. All right, so the next piece is actually two pieces of equipment. One of them is the Tascam. The Tascam DR60D, I think, Mark II. This just mounts right straight to the tripod. As you can see, it has the quick release plate here on the bottom. And the other piece of equipment mounts to the top of this, which is the camera. So that's the Canon Vixia. And, you know, obviously you guys don't have to use this particular camera or recorder, but I'm just showing you my rig. So, Canon Vixia, and so I just mount it with the mounting screw right there. So one's mounted on top of the other, and then the whole thing mounted on top of the tripod. And then after this, I'll show you in the next part of the video all the wiring for all this stuff. So this is really wonky because I messed around with this. Okay, that's balanced now. I'm looking at, there's a little level bubble right here. So I just leveled it. And so that I think is pretty much all for the equipment except for the microphone. But that comes, I think, with the wiring, and we'll explain that next. The thing with this is the other day, this was up. And when I was panning around, boom. So you have to be careful of obstructions with this rig. Either I have to bring this handle up or lower the antenna. It doesn't really matter because I'm also going to mount my phone, which will be what's providing the Wi-Fi for the Epiphan. So I could raise this up like I just did. So this can now sit upwards, or I can point this down. But either way, the antenna doesn't really matter because the phone's going to be sitting right here, and I mean, it doesn't really matter where this goes, really. It can be straight out, I guess, doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to talk about wire management because on this rig, it's actually kind of critical to do good wire management. Wires hanging around when you're panning the camera back and forth can cause a lot of problems. So it's good to just take care of the wiring when you just set up the rig. And so I'm going to talk about what plugs into where and what I do for wire management. So all my wires, what I've done is I've got the Velcro tape, which is basically Velcro strips basically that are chained together one after another. But so I just separate off one of the strips, and they have like a little hole on this end and like a little knob thing cut out on this end. And so I just take this and put one of these around every one of my wires. So so I just pull the thing through this hole on that end and then slide it through, and it stays on the wire basically forever. But then when I go and use this wire, which I'm about to, I'll roll them up, the excess wire, I'll bunch it up in as neatly as possible, hopefully in a situation where it won't be in the way, and then I use this to wrap the bundle so that all this access wire is contained. So this wire is a 3.5 by 3.5 and millimeter, and I use this wire to go from the Tascam digital recorder. So all the audio is going to be coming into Tascam from a microphone, and then I want to send it out of the Tascam and into the camera, because everything from the camera is going to end up going into the streamer for publication, for broadcast, right? So I need to get the good audio from the Tascam into the camera. I don't want the camera to use its internal mic, because that is, by the way, if you don't know, that is a really, really bad thing. The internal mics in cameras suck. It doesn't matter what camera you have, they all suck. I've even heard, the high-end RED cameras. Those, apparently, microphones suck on those too. So, I wouldn't know, I don't have one, but anyway. So here on this set, on this camera, it has a mic port, which is red. So I'm going to plug it into this side. And on the Tascam on this side, there's a camera out port, which I'm going to plug in on this side. And my wires, I might do a little better job, I guess, maybe. But they're kind of out of the way, and they're not in the frame of the... And bring it in closer so you can see what I just did. So here, the audio is in the mic port there on the camera. So now I'm using, basically, telling the camera I'm using external mic, which is not true. I'm actually using audio that's coming out of my Tascam. And then in the Tascam, I'll be doing, controlling the input gain and controlling the output gain here. So my theory on this is this one can be all the way to the sky, and this one is the input gain, where you want to make this as low as possible, or whichever one it's plugged into, right? I'm going to end up plugging the microphones into 3.4 here, 3.4, and so I'm going to be controlling that from this. All right, so that's that. All right, so now we're going to talk about powering the Tascam. So Tascam needs, is battery powered automatically. It takes, I think, on the back here, I want to say, I don't even know. I want to say 8, but I don't think it's 8. I think it's more like 4. There it is. So it takes 4 AA's. I have rechargeables in there, but I don't rely on those. They're kind of like a backup for me. In case things don't work out, it'll run off the batteries. But keeping them charged is a bane of my life. But anyway, that's a different story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power the Tascam externally from the battery down here. So I've got this USB, and it's a mini on this end, not a micro, a mini, and a full USB. So the full USB goes into the battery pack right here, if I turn it the right way. Okay. And this end goes into the Tascam to power the Tascam right here under this flap. The flap moves aside, there's your SD card and the mini power port. So now I plug this into the mini power port, and I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to do some wire management, because obviously that wire is just hanging. All right, so I'm back, and I've wire managed that a little bit, and I've left some slack in it, so that way I can pan and it won't wrap itself around the head. So it does have some slack, but not enough to get itself in trouble, hopefully. And this wire you see hanging, that's for my phone. So that's going to go up here, but at the moment it's just kind of hanging. I can pull it out, but this is what the battery looks like now. Now it has 2 USBs plugged in, nothing in the C adapter, and just this one plug for the Epiphan. And so now we're moving on. All right, now we're going to talk about powering the camera. So the power port for the camera is right under this little flap. Let me just get that out, open. Yeah, not that one, that black one. That's the power port. So Canon comes with this power adapter. It's a brick with a AC plug on one end and then this one. So what I'll do is I'll typically run this like underneath this handle and then into the power port. There we go. So there you go. So now it's plugged in. So here with the brick, plug the AC cord in to the brick. Now I've got the AC plug and just plug it straight into the battery. There, now the camera's powered. So everything has power. HDMI from the Epiphan, or sorry, from the camera. So this is where my cord comes in I showed earlier. This is the full HDMI for the camera. So that goes in right next to the audio, right there. So it goes in right there. And then the other side, of course, nope, it's on the side right here. So it says HDMI in. So this is where this goes in to the Epiphan. And there we go. So now you have audio and video. Video obviously from the lens and audio from the cord coming through this HDMI out cord and down into the Epiphan through the HDMI in, and then out to the internet through Wi-Fi to the phone. Right. So that whole side of it, obviously now I've got a bunch of wires all hanging everywhere, which I'll have to deal with. But typically you would be rolling those up like these two and sticking them on so that they're out of the way. Also, don't forget when you're doing that to give yourself a little slack in your cord, because when you're panning around, you don't want these cords to be wrapping themselves around the head of the tripod while you're panning. So you want a little slack, but not enough for it to be caught on a whole bunch of stuff, right? All right, so we're back. And so I haven't done anything except some wire management. All the plugs are in where they were prior, and I've kind of wrapped them up. This is the one for my phone, and I wrapped them up on the tripod leg so they're out of the way, but they still have enough slack that I can turn without wrapping them around the head too much. I have a good at least over 180. And then if I need more, I just have to loosen these, loosen the wires a little more or whatever. If that's, if I need to get a longer pan. So that is something the cameraman will need to be aware of, is that, he is tied down a bit for panning. So watch out that you don't pan too far and you end up wrapping the wires around that head. Again, just to go through this, we have audio coming out of the Tascam into the camera. We have video from the lens coming into the camera, video and audio coming out of the HDMI cord down into the Epiphan, into the HDMI in here. We have everything powered by the battery pack. And so we're pretty much set to go. There's only one last thing, microphone. So on the audio side, we'd have no microphone hooked up. So here is the microphone that I use, or use most of the times. Either this one or another one's very similar to this one. So there are clips for these, and they will clip on your lapel. But this is a dual Polson OLM20, I think it is. So it has two microphones on one end, but only one plug. So it's like a stereo, basically, or left-right. But it actually is two mono, believe it or not. But anyway, so this will go into port 3, 4 here. So it has a stereo input here. And this microphone actually is powered. So along the cord here, it has this little thing, and you turn it on and off. So So that being said, obviously you're going to need all this wire because you're going to have to stretch it out to whoever your talent is. And you might need more. But anyway, without further ado, let's try and power everything up. So, power on this side. Hold that down. Okay, that's powering up. It gives me a message, do I want to use bus power, which is power through the USB port, and I do. And it's coming up. Check, check. Okay, they're turned off. Okay. So I may have run the batteries down, but check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. You can see it bouncing so that, you know, obviously if you're a good audio tech, you'll actually listen to this in your headphones. Make sure that it's good. And then there's obviously a bunch of settings in Tascam, which I'm not going to go into. You can go on YouTube and find out how to configure Tascam settings. And so that's that for the Tascam. Tascam is up. And then on the camera, it's just this little switch that goes this way, and flip it open. And the camera, I think, is on battery power right now, so I need to turn the battery on down here. There it is. Now that's powering the camera. Let me flip open the lens door. Okay, so now the camera is also powered by the battery. And then finally, the only thing left is the Epiphan. So we just hold the Epiphan button. I think it's on, actually. Yep. I wrapped it too well. It says booting. And right now it says paired, no signal. No, now it does not say no signal. It just says the channel that I'm paired to. So right now, if I hit the button, I could go live. Actually, no, because I'm not. Oh, you know what? It must have connected to one of the other Wi-Fi signals. My hotspot is not turned on as far as I know on my phone. But anyway, so I could hit the button. I could go live right now. So that is the entire rig from top to bottom. A lot of wires, obviously. To cut back on some of the wiring, you could run onboard batteries. So the camera could run off its onboard battery, and the Tascam could run off of its onboard batteries. And then you would eliminate those two wires. I just find this gives me the buffer for the batteries ran out. This will let me run probably for a couple hours on this guy, as opposed to, I'm not too sure if I've charged all the batteries right for the camera and whatever. So it has advantages. Obviously wires are disadvantage, but as you can see, and not that bad. So right now everything's going.